Good morning, IOL student, and compliment for the year 2018. This is your tutor for Natural Science and Health 1, Mr. Absalom Kahumba. I'm here to offer a conduct-based presentation for this course. Basically, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to actually guide you on how to prepare for the examination for this year 2018 in this course. So should you have any query after this presentation, or maybe during the course of your preparation, then you can still consult me at the contact number that is given there, which is 0811246753, and then the email address is akahumba@unam.na. So those are the contact details that you can use just to ask some questions, maybe guidance per se, but not for answers to questions or what questions should be in the exam noted or that I will not provide. This is another one. This is a course actually for Bachelor of Education, Senior Primary, and it's normally offered in the first semester. This also has to do with my contact should you have any problem, so feel free to consult or text or call. Then I can also, if you just text or give a call request, then I can call you back and we can take it on from there. Please feel free to consult me anytime. I have an open door policy. I mean, you can call me anytime that you want, and then we will handle all situations that needs our assistance. Basically, for this course, we have a module assessment policy, which is strictly for this institution. And you're actually required to do a continuous assessment per semester, which is just one assignment, which is out of 130 marks for this module. And this module is actually 14 credits. So you actually require to have 50% per semester from your continuous assessment, which will enable you to get admitted to examination. Or this is actually required or an admission to examinations. So these are actually the 3 examinations that you are going to write throughout this year for this course. So you should actually obtain 50% for you to be able to or to get admission to an examination. We do not have specifically practicals normally, but although there are some simple practical orientation that you need to have know-how of, but just for the study purposes, not that you should carry them out in the field. So this examination will be a one paper. If you qualify, then you write one paper which will have a duration of about 3 hours. So we will have a 3-hour written examination paper for 130 marks. So you should be ready for that. So if you write that, so you are going to have a final mark that you need to acquire, that will now be regarded as a pass mark, and that is actually 50 marks, or 50% rather. So it will be calculated now 60 of the from the examination and the 40 from the semester continuous assessment mark. So all in all, when it adds up, it is gonna be 100. And if you have now a sub minimum mark of 50%, that means you have actually passed your examination. Less than that, then you have not made it in that exam. So and then you have to look for another opportunity that is gonna come next. So there are also some important notes that I have given you here for examination. Now for this these examinations for this year, they actually structured in such a way that you're going to have short questions, which you now need to use various verbs. You need to familiarize with these verbs when you're writing examinations. You will actually be required to actually be able to mention. So if you get to mention, then that means you are actually supposed to mention. In that short questions, you are required to mention some few things, maybe mention what and what, and then also required to define some terms, and then you also be required or be asked to name a few of the things. Listing also not be discriminated, and then you also be asked to describe, distinguish, and compare. So in that setup of questions, you will be required to mention, define, name, and list, describe, and also to distinguish. Sometimes you may also be asked to compare. Now the others are kind of are actually in an essay format, where you are required to give more of detailed information in terms of explanation and discussion. So you are going to discuss, meaning if you discuss, you need to actually bring yourself out. You have to give a bit of information, directing and then explaining exactly what is happening here and there. So now all in all, it's all sum up into a total of about 130 marks. And now what you actually need to do, you need to pay attention to the learning outcomes of every unit, because in your study guide, every unit has its learning outcomes. You should master them. Now you also need to be able to, you should be able to read instruction and questions also carefully. What I noticed with some of the students per se, they don't seem to have understood some of the questions when they read them. But you need to read each instruction, and every question read it at least 2 times to see whether you really understand what is required from you, and that will now enable you to answer that question correctly. Otherwise, you will just be answering the question, but you'll be off topic. So that means that will cost you more marks. Now, because most of you actually teachers, you always required to use practical examples that are practically used in schools. So this will actually enable to strengthen your answers. So when you use practical examples of situations that are happening in real life situations, then that will strengthen most of your answers. So these are some of the important notes that you need to take when it comes to answering questions in examinations. I've provided you some examination hints here. The advices to you students, now that this will actually help you to succeed in examinations. I've actually numbered them, so you need to make sure that you give yourself enough time. What I have realized, some of the students did not prepare very well at early stage. So if you don't prepare very well or early enough, you are likely to cramming information into your brain just overnight because you're writing tomorrow. That is not the best way to approach examination. So you should have read enough. Maybe you strategize in such a way that you set out a timetable for your study. So you know now if you're writing maybe 2 or 3 subjects, and then you strategize such that you prioritize. You prioritize which subject comes first, and then you start reading unit by units for each of them. But you first start with the one that you think requires more attention, or you don't understand it much better than other. Then you start with that one. So you set out the timetable very well. Then you write down now how many examinations you're gonna write, and then the dates, so that you remind yourself every time you come by that timetable, and then you know when to write what. And then you actually, and that will actually enable you to plan accordingly, and that will enhance your process of studying. You organize your study material well enough. If you need some maybe extra time to beef up some of the information that you have already maybe in your guide, you think it's not clear, then you need more time to study that. And then you can also maybe get on your internet. Then you beef up by reading much more into details of that topic, and then you kind of strike a balance. So you prepare all these courses well enough and well in advance, and that will enable you to be well prepared. Do not just prepare overnight and go and write tomorrow. By claiming this information, you totally get blank when you get in the examination. So it's not the right thing to do. So you should also know that most of the way that you use there, you will describe, explain, and listing and discussing. Those are some of the ways that you will be meeting. I mean, those are the type of questions that you will be meeting in the examinations. You also need to organize your study space. You need to have a table where you can spread your textbook nicely, you spread them out nicely, and sometimes you also make notes of what you are reading. Make sure that you have also enough light in your room so that you be able to read clearer. And sometimes when you do not have or you don't sit comfortably, the interest of studying will not be there. But if you have a seat where you are seated comfortably, you can make it, because you are seated comfortably, and then when you are studying, you study more comfortably and you will not have any problem. Avoid computer games or all kind of appliances that you can now use or that will be able to distract you. So most of you now have cell phones, and I know what most people do. They always get on Facebook, or they get to a sport website, and then they look at the scores and so forth. That will distract you. Keep that away for some times, and then you only look at that after sometimes when you have now leisure time, or some breaks in between. You arrange your books nicely in files. So if you have a file, you have the materials maybe for the course that you have to start with. You arrange them first, just like that in files. If it's English, you have a file for English, and then if you have maybe physical science or then natural science, they follow according to how they are on your timetable, and that will help you now to strategize. Even your brains will be organized in such a way that you have arranged already your study time according to what comes first, what follows next, and so on and so forth. Sometimes you may also need to draw or design a flow chart. Flow chart mean you may need to brainstorm. By brainstorming now, when you're brainstorming, instead of just coming up with new ideas, you kind of draw a chart or a tree-like structure where you write all possible answers first to a question, and then you put in an easy way of you put actually in an easy way of a diagram with key points that will be suitable to that. You can suitably use into your answers, and then you see whether that is actually gonna help you to answer all the questions. So you strategize by brainstorming first. You draw a chart, then you kind of use keywords that will be suitable to use in your answers. So in this way, then when examination starts, you can spend 5 minutes preparing for your answers, and then expand on them, because you already wrote the keywords that are suitable to answer that question. Then you can expand more on them. So when you expand on them, you're actually gonna have it more clearer, because you have already prepared or brainstormed. You are kind of organizing your mindset in such a way that you have guided it, and then when you're answering a question, you already know which word should come first and which one comes last. And those are the ways that you can now build up on or expand on. Then that will perhaps be able to guide you and enable you to have more clearer mindset. You need also to practice some of the old examinations. Maybe it might be good to find out what kind of questions that are going to be in the exams. Just assuming that this can be asked also. It doesn't necessarily mean that is what is going to be coming in the examination, but the idea is that you need to have an overview or a guide that will show you that this is what you should expect in examination. Maybe you look at how examination was set or structured, and then maybe you start with short questions and long questions with some discussions here and there. And then also see how many questions are normally asked and how they are asked. Because tutors, they ask questions differently. So you need to familiarize yourself with that. You look through now old question papers. It also gives you an idea of how the layout of examination is, per se. And then you also see how many, or what is the number of short answers that you normally have, or long answers that you should expect in examination. And it also gives you a hint of how much time you may use in each of the questions, or how much time should you spend per question in examination. Because you already have a guide or a clue of what to expect. But if you don't familiarize yourself with that, it may not be clearer to you, because you're just going to meet that question for the first time, and you have never looked at any of the question paper that was set previously some years ago. So please try and do that. One of the best way to do also when you're studying, you need to study also in a group, kind of. You have peers, maybe if you don't have anyone, or you don't know anyone that is coming from your area or your region, you can find a way of you can find out from the course coordinator if there's anyone in your region, maybe, or in your area that is also doing the same course, and then you can have a group form on your cell phone, a WhatsApp group, where you discuss some of the things. But what you can do, you can either call each other, but what you normally need to do, sometimes when you have a problem with one of the questions, if you're studying, you study in such a way that you study one unit, and then your friend also study that at the same time, and then you try and ask each other questions. So by so doing, you don't get stressed. You normally don't get stressed. You can, or if you have someone that is in the house, what you can do, maybe your brother or sister or parents, you don't get stressed. You can now have time to explain some of the questions to them, or explain to them what you have read from that unit. And use them also at your advantage, trying to use them to tell them, and then that will now indicate whether you have read enough or not. Because if you are failing to explain anything, if you are failing to explain any answer to the question to them, that means you have not read enough. So this actually helps you to get a clearer mind, or to get all clear of this topic in your head or in your mind. So if you find it difficult to explain, then that means you need to study more. So this is actually a preparation. If you don't prepare very well by reading, then you will not get everything right, because you will not be able to explain anything. That means you also not be able to answer any question in the examinations. So try and use this platform. You can either use a group, that a study group that you can have, or you study on your own, and then use any of your brothers or sisters, or any parent that is at home. Just try and explain each of your answers to a question that you might have read, or what you have read, to them, and see if they can get it clearer. If you not fail to explain anything, that means you have read enough, and then you can now proceed further to other units. Moreover, you also need to study, to organize a study group, like I said earlier, or maybe with your friends. They may help you as well to answer some of the questions, or you may help them also answering their questions. Do not just confine yourself to your books. Consider also some leisure time. Studying is quite stressful, everybody knows. But what you can do, you need to spend some time outside, maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just to relax. And during that time, you can grab maybe something, or if you are quite close to a pizza shop, you can buy a pizza, or maybe some snacks, and this will help you to stimulate your mind. It actually stimulates your mind, or maybe you have a piece of chocolate, take a bite, and then you continue afterwards. So that will now help you to actually energize your mind and your body, and it also boosts your interest. Rather than just focusing on something, on your textbook, now reading this unit, and you can't get it clear, or you don't understand anything, take a quick break, and then you get back, or you can even take a nap, and then you get back. When you get back, obviously you'll be able to have your concentration right forward. Now, when you take a break, you don't force yourself into a study period of about 24 hours. You should have breaks. If you study from morning until sunset, let's say from morning time until 12 o'clock, your brain will be more tired. So we have seen some athletes who either practice. They don't practice throughout the day. They only have sessions. Maybe they only train in the morning, then they train again later in the evening, around about 5. So if you do that, it will also help you, because you need to have some breaks in between. You also need to have a study routine for yourself. Like this time I'm going to study this, and then if you cannot finish, you just need to acquaint yourself with the situation, that you speed up a little bit with your reading, and then see if you can understand it. If you can't understand anything that you are studying, try and relax. Relaxation is also needed. So if you study better in the morning, then start early in the morning. Take a break in the afternoon, maybe during lunch, because you're not good studying in the afternoon. And then use much of your time to study at the time that you're comfortable with. If it's morning time, you study in the morning. And then maybe if you are good studying in the afternoon, use that moment. And then later in the morning or in the evening, you relax a little bit. So you can also sunbask, and sometimes also enjoy sunshine outside if it's morning time. Mind you, vitamin D is also important for your brain. You can relax outside, maybe for 30 minutes or less, depending on how your brain works. If you are good at maybe just spending a break of about 10 minutes, do that. And then the rest of the time, you get back to your books and you concentrate. Mind you, also have some vitamins, like vitamin D, when you were sunbasking outside, if it's early in the morning, which is quite good. If you want to jog, you can go jog, take a bath, then you get back to your books. So that's some of the tips. Like I indicated earlier, that you need to snack on your brain food as well. Avoid junk food and opt for a bowl of nuts instead. This is good for your brain. Nuts are actually good for the brain. So because when you need to fuel your body while you're studying, provide energy, because this snack you actually provide yourself with energy. Energy is fuel. Fuel is actually energy. It's like when you are driving a car and doesn't have fuel, it will not run. So provide your body with energy, because the body needs that. And try and eat nutritious food to activate your focus on your brain. If there is fish, eat fish, nuts, yogurt, or some berries, just to boost your morale and your brain so that it concentrates. And when you are studying, you actually need a pencil. You should now pack your pencil case. Ensure that your pen is writing when you're going into examination. Your pen must be writing, and you must also have a pencil if it's required. Some people, what they do when they get an examination, when they read a question, they just jot down with a pencil some of the keywords or some of the possible answers before they go to the other question. That will help them now, so that when they start with the question, they already know what to use or how to answer that. Because if they go to other questions, they might forget or get disorganized. Because some people panic. You don't have to panic. Relax, have enough sleep. That helps a lot. So ensure that your pen writes and the pencil also sharpened if you are going to use it. So sometimes the mind switches off if your pen fails to write, because you won't know what to do. You don't know whether you have to borrow from a friend that is next to you who may not have a pen, and you don't know whether you have to ask whoever is invigilating examination to help you with a pen, and they may also not have. You start panicking. Avoid all those unnecessary stresses. You become anxious. So if you are writing math or physical science examinations, make sure that all your necessary equipment that you need for that subject are in your pencil case. So your ruler, your compass or your calculator. Have them all in there, or the eraser. Have it in there, because when you need to erase, then you have it for yourself. You don't need to bother anyone, because you're going to disturb other people also who are concentrating on the examination. And when they fail, they are going to blame you, and we don't want anyone to be blamed for someone that did not bring all his or her writing materials. So try and bring all that with you. Mind you, the terms that you are going to have in the examinations, or the questions are mainly going to have or be structured or set into I'm using those words: discuss, define, mention, and explain. So stock up your sweets if you need sweets. Maybe in the exam you may need to chew something, or water. Keep your sugar level actually up during examination. So you may have water just to take a sip during that time, and that's good. So that's why in some soccer match you realize that some players, they always like chewing gums. That actually boosts them. They are boosting themselves by providing their body with extra sugar to boost up their level. So stay alert. Hydrate yourself, meaning provide yourself with water when it's necessary. If you are weak during examinations, just pop up sweet in the mouth, and you will have your energy recharged again. So try and do all these. These are some of the practice that you might need in your exam. So by so doing, if you are more relaxed, avoid getting stressed. Some people get stressed because they get fear of examination. So, and they get stressed because they don't get time to prepare, because they haven't started with their preparation early enough, and that's what we should avoid. Get more time, sleep quite well enough, rest enough, and prepare well enough in advance, and you will not have any of the problems. So I hope I've actually done justice by guiding you on how to prepare yourself for exam, and I wish you all the best for the examination. So feel free to also consult me should you have any problem, and I thank you very much.